And on today's video, we're going to be showing you guys at home tips and tricks on how to install carpet.
Except the difference is, this is on existing prep.
Before we bring the carpet up, we're going to check the existing prep is okay to lay on.
All that means is there any bits that are absolutely ruined? So it's all the same, it's all still got a bit of spring in it. Go over to your grippers or your smooth edge and just give them a nice little pull, make sure they're all fixed and they go all the way round, which they are in here. And that's pretty much it, we're ready to bring our carpet in.
We're going to go grab a carpet.
Right, now we're happy with the prep upstairs in the room, it's time to unwrap and get our carpet up. So how we do that? First we're going to take our wrapper off. So where we put our blade is on that end of the carpet there. We slot it down in that gap. So that way, when we're cutting the wrapper, we're not going to damage any of the carpet. And we just do that all the way along.
And that's how you unwrap your carpet safely without cutting it. Now it's time to take the pole out.
Now that the wrapper's undone, we don't actually pull this out. We're going to leave it underneath. And what that does is protect the backing from the floor. So we'll get that unwrapped. And what we need to do is get this pole out, but it's going to be very tight. So if you get someone on each end, so Brad's down there, and we're just going to hop and undo it without unrolling it. So we're just loosening the pile. And as you can see, it's now loose, so we can slide that out. And the reason we need to get this out is, in most cases, you won't be able to get the carpet in a straight. We need to fold it up to get it through the tight gaps.
And also keeping it loose, don't tighten it back up. And that also helps when we fold it in half, that the crease is not as harsh when we take it upstairs when we unroll it.
Now that it's all unwrapped and the pole's gone, we need to fold it in the centre, but we're not going to put one crease, we're going to do two. That just stops it getting as damaged when we're carrying it up. So I'll do one like this, and then as Brad comes up, we'll put a second one in, and we'll come all the way over. Not too bad. So as central as you can, and then two of us are going to carry it through, being careful of the walls and the door frames, because the backing of carpets can do a bit of damage. Before we unroll the carpet, what we're going to do, we're going to check for pile direction, and generally you go flat down the stairs or flat out the room, and we've got it laid diagonally so it's in the widest section, gives us more space to unroll it. So we'll show you that now.
So how we unroll it, we stick the carpet just under our feet and we're going to take the weight and use our legs as rollers, and we're going to slowly lift off, being careful of the walls.
Peekaboo. And as we unfold it, we're pulling the sides in so we don't scratch the walls. So this last section, we're going to unroll it like a bit of pasta. So we're going to come back on ourselves and then back on top, so we end up with it like that, and basically now we can manoeuvre the carpet around.
So now our next step is to fold the two ends in. So we're not going to try and lay this out yet, we're just going to get it as small as we can so we can straighten it up first. So as you can see, we've not actually unrolled anything yet, we're just getting it in position before we unroll anything out.
We've got it laid out, we've squared it up so we're happy with the way the pile's running. And we've made sure we've got every section of our room so the carpet's not going to be short anywhere before we do any cutting. And we're going to come up to our first obstacle, which is this doorway. So we're going to bring the carpet up to it, which we'll show you now. So what we've done, we've rolled the carpet up to the corner, but it's still on its back. And then we're going to cut through this layer, but obviously don't hit the layer underneath. And we're going to cut away from where we're going. So we're going to cut back. And what we're using is just a normal straight knife, nice and sharp for this. And then we're going to cut across, allowing about 6 inches because we've got to get underneath that door. If you're unsure, just allow more. And then once we've made that cut there, we can take all this off because it's extra, because obviously that wall's there. But just allow more because there's no point risking it. You don't need to have it super tight. So if we pull this out now, so it's on its back, we're going to do a nice straight cut, and you can use the pile on the backing to get your cut straight, or just overdo it. and I'm lifting the carpet slightly as I pull that knife through so I don't hit underneath. And now that can be removed out of the way so we've got more space to work in.
Now that Phil's made that relief cut, we can actually walk the carpet round and lay the rest of the carpet out. Just being careful of the walls at all times when you've got an action back carpet, because it's so easy to mark the walls. You have to just make sure that you lay it against everything so delicately. So now it's time to go around the room and cut all the carpet down. We're not actually fitting anything yet, we're just getting it more manageable to install. And what you do is you get your Stanley knife and run your knife around the room, and you basically want to leave 50 to 100 mil all round, or 4 inches if you don't understand the metric system. So where we come up to this corner that we're going to have to actually stretch off, we're not going to cut all the excess off, we're going to leave 6 inches, so just in case the carpet moves forward and back. So we're just going to cut off the bit next to it just to make it a bit more manageable when we're coming to install it.
Right, so now all the excess has been taken off, we're going to be basically starting on this corner because we've already cut it because it's an obstacle. So we're going to lock here, and then we're going to stretch in straight lines both directions. So we're going to go that way first and then that way. And once we've locked across here, we're going to fit this like 2 separate areas. So we're going to fit that half first because we need to come away from the wall that we've locked onto. And then once all this is in, we'll then come back and fit this because we can come against the already stretched section. So let's start on this corner. So what we're going to be using to stretch is a knee kicker or a stretcher like this, and it's got adjustable teeth in the end. And the way I adjust that is I normally sit it on the carpet all the way in, so the teeth are gone, and then I wind it out until you see it pick up off the top, and I'll just back it off one, and that's enough that it's not going to go too far through. We're going to be using a carpet bolster or a stair bolster, and you could also use something called a speed cap, but we're going to not use that because I'm going to assume you haven't got it. So we're going to keep it nice and basic, and we're going to need a knife to cut the carpet. This is a Delphin, so it's pretty popular for floor fitters. The way we start is on that corner like I said. So we're going to cut the little bit of excess off, and then we're going to side cut that. So we're going to tip it over, we're going to push our blade through the side, and what we want is about 5mm extra. So we see we're a little bit too long there. And because we're stretching off of this corner, we're not trying to kick it a lot, we're just trying to put a little bit of tension, so nice light tap. And then we're going to push our bolster on top of the carpet, and we're just rolling it into the gap that we've got behind our gripper, like so. See, a lot of people, they do this, which you can if you want, but it just causes more damage on the skirtings, especially on fresh paint like this. And then we give it a little scrub like that, and that just helps lock that bit of carpet in place. So now we are opposite the corner in a nice straight line, and we're going to lock it on this wall opposite. So we're just going to make some relief cuts. Doesn't have to be a perfect width as long as that section is opposite. And before we cut that, we need to stretch the carpet across and lock it on. So we're going to be using the bolster. Obviously if you want to splash out, obviously you can use that, and that does the same thing. So on a stretcher, there's this blank section on the front, and that's designed to go up and over the gripper. So we want to be back about 1 inch or so from the wall, and then that can slide up and over the top. So we push down on the head, and then we knee this, and then while it's under tension, push our bolster down into that corner, move it 1 head's width, and do the same thing again, moving our bolster as well, like that. Right, so now that this straight section here is locked in, we can now go back the other way against the wall, and because we've got tension here, we're not going to have any carpet bobbling up over here because that's also locked, that's locked, nothing can move. So before we stretch down here, we need to cut this corner in, and the way we do that is we take it on its back, push our thumb and the carpet into the corner so that it's right up to the very point, and then we put our knife down and in, and then we bring it back, so that's the corner, and then we make a V cut, so we go that side and that side, and we end up with this V. Now it can be pushed down into the corner, and now we can stretch. So now we've cut that corner in, it's time to get the rest of this straight stretch in. So we're just going to kick up into this corner. Remember, keep the stretcher nice and straight and weight over the head. And once we've done that, if you just give it a little pull to make sure it is definitely locked on, which it is, that means that line there is nice and tight. We can work off the rest. So now we've got 2 separate square areas, and this is nice and tight here and fitted. So we're going to cut that corner the same as we did that one to make a bit of relief in the carpet. So now that we've got our tension through here, we're going to do a temporary stretch, which means we're going to stretch up into the corner, lock it on, and then we're going to do a second stretch. So Chris is going to show you that first stretch now. So up into that corner as hard as he can, and then he's pushing down onto the gripper so that it holds on. Right, now that we're locked on with that temporary stretch, we're going to come from where we've locked across here, and on a stretcher there's these 2 slightly angled surfaces on the face. They're not for no reason, they're 10-degree pitch there and there. So if we're going right to left, we're going to sit it so that that right hand side is parallel to the wall, and we're basically stretching at a slight angle all the way up into the corner, and that's going to take any of the slack out. And if you just see here, I'm following the stretcher with the bolster still like we did over there, so our lock stays in place, our stretch isn't going to come off. So now that I've got 2 walls, even though this is an invisible wall, we've split the room, so we've got 2 walls in. We're now going to go to our last corner, which is over there, and do another temporary stretch before we start working our way up here with that angled stretch that we just did there. So we can't quite get into the actual corner, but we're going to go as close as we can, make another relief. Before we stretch into this corner, I need to make, there's a bit of tension here, so I'm going to make some reliefs. I'm going to do this right hand side. The reason I can cut this one to the corner is because we're stretching this way, we're not going to come off of that, so it's not going to be short. And now there's less pressure in this corner. So we'll make our temporary stretch. So same over there, we're going at like a 45, so we're trying to stretch it both ways, just a temporary stretch. And then we'll lock it onto that gripper, just so it holds it in position. So we're doing our angled stretch, so we're just 10 degrees off of straight, and we're going to move back over into that corner. Remembering to lock the carpet on as we go. Or if you don't want to use this, you can use your fingers. Right, so now we've got these 3 sides on, we've got to do our last section, and because we're stretched across here, we can now make any final cuts around the corners. So we'll cut this one, take any slack off. Right, so now we've done all our relief cuts, we've got 3 of our sections in. This final one, we're still aiming for that left-hand corner. So what we're doing, we're putting all our stretch into one corner, pull that temporary stretch off, and then we can re-stretch, so then it'll end up nice and tight. Right, so now that the room's all locked on, this is actually fully fitted. All we need to do now is trim the excess and tuck it down with our bolster. And we're just going to do that same side cut that we showed you at the beginning, all the way round, and then we'll go round and tuck it all. So let's get on with it.
Right, and what Phil means by a side cut, I'm going to show you a quick demonstration on a scrap bit of carpet. So basically this would be your skirting here, and then this little half hoop here, you put your knife in and you push, and then that through the middle of the hoop, and then that will leave you the perfect amount of carpet to tuck down the back. Right, so now that Phil has cut in the entire room, it's now time to tuck the carpet in. So we're going to work our way around with our bolster using Phil's method of slowly edging one side down and rolling it round, because this helps not damage the paint on the skirting. And as we get a certain way, we'll double check this bit, make sure it's all nice. You can give it a light tuck if you want, and then after, just give it a light scrub with the side of the bolster. You don't need to do this, but we just like to do it to make sure it sticks to the gripper.
Right, for anyone wondering about the speed cap that we mentioned in the beginning, let's show you exactly how this works if you want to buy a tool like this. So it locks down into the gap between the wall and the gripper. We then put pressure on that base plate and we push it along, and what it does is it tucks the carpet down in one motion, because it's got wheels that get deeper and deeper, so it's a lot quicker, but obviously you have to get used to using something like this. Right, that is this room complete. I hope it's helped some of you out, and I want to say a massive thanks to Chris for letting us film here.
Thanks for the free carpet, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Free?
I'm paying.
No, absolutely there is a charge.